questions for me, please ask them now. It could be regarding any of the reporting templates or in general. If you have any questions about reporting and what the data needs to look like, please ask away. Yes, Aaron.
Hi, yeah, we were looking at the quarterly report template. I think it's quarterly, maybe it's a monthly report template. Anyway, we're looking at one of the templates that has like the detail section where you kind of like put in the detail and each row is one of the activities that's occurring during that period of time. And I think that we've got it pretty much figured out how we're going to record that information, but it kind of is going to look like, when a client arrives, that'll be their start date for employment supports, that start date for ESL instruction, that will be the start date for, I think, those two things. And then basically we're just going to continue on. They'll just be active in whatever thing until they exit that service. So like all of the clients who are active, like all 700, would get an employment support start when they start the program and an ESL support. And then when they get a job, their ESL will end. And when they exit the program, their employment support will end. And then we'll track the employment itself as the start date of when they got employed and the end date of when they exited the program. Does that sound like the kind of like data that you are looking for? Is that is that meaningful to you? Does that make sense to you?
Yeah. Yes, it does.
Okay.
And you summarize it pretty well. For the employment program, the data is going to be a little more detailed. So the form was standardized to be used across all of the services, across all of the agencies. But like you said, at ERCO, you would be tracking the actual employment service, and then you would be tracking the job placement and then the job retention as well, which is you will keep them on your case loads for 90 days. And if they have a job at the end of the 90 days, then you will exit them from the program. So you'll be tracking quite a bit more information than all of the other contractors who are just doing, for example, if you're doing youth mentoring, which I believe ERCO is, but that's a separate contract, you will just have a start date when you enroll people and an exit date when you exit them from the program, and that is your youth mentoring service right there.
That sounds good. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, perfect. I just wanted to make sure that we were doing it right and that would work for you. So okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
And it is in the plan. So we have to submit our report to the feds pretty soon. So by the end of January, I'm hoping that we could schedule a meeting specifically with ERCO Employment to figure out the report, since your report is more detailed. So we might be adding a few more columns in there. Just giving you a heads up.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we're planning to get that ready to go for the on next Wednesday.
That's a really good point.
But yeah, just let us know, I guess.
Seeing it more and more. I just did a
All
little
right.
study on it.
Basira and then Irina.
Yes, I don't have a question. As a question, just constatation that I'm thinking of. You probably saw how the PET report is different from other reports. We don't have a form that we're using. We developed with Niru before Misty came that type of reports you needed for the addition to ORR reports. So I think it matching everything you need, unless you want us to change something. My only worry was why we cannot do the other forms that everybody else. And it makes sense with the type of work and particular activities that we're doing that is different from others.
Yeah.
Am I right?
Yes. So the standardized form that we are using right now with all of the contractors is the information we have to report to ORR. It is demographic information, dates of enrollment, and then service type. But like you said, for ERCO, it is a little bit challenging because not only are you doing the services, it is different services, and we have to track other dates as well. So if somebody could be enrolled in PET and simultaneously enrolled and have a job coach as well, so they're enrolled in employment and they're getting multiple employment services. So yes, and we need to meet to figure that piece out. I know that the report that Niru had developed with you guys was sufficient until last year, but now the feds are asking for more information. For example, they're asking for primary goals, employment goals, that sort of thing. So we'll have to figure that out, and we will meet hopefully at the end of January once I'm done with the report for ORR.
Yeah, that sounds good. No problem.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Irina?
So, oh, sorry.
Yeah, I need a little bit clarification about clients who we transfer from previous fiscal year, because you mentioned like the all active clients on October 1st, 2023, like need to be included in kind of October report, and as we continue to work with these clients until the case closure. I'm just wondering, like, if we manually putting their like enrollment for this fiscal year as October 1st for purpose of transfer, how we track their other activities. For example, if they already attending classes, what to put for the start date? Is it okay to put like actual starting date from previous fiscal year, or we need to adjust it?
Yes. So when we said that you need to move over individuals from the previous fiscal year at the beginning of October, we are not saying that you should change their enrollment date. Their enrollment date would remain whatever their actual enrollment date is. You will everybody who is active currently in employment services, they need to appear on the report.
Okay.
Oh, so we don't need to
That's
put
good.
like the, okay, yeah, just that's great. It's easier, like, because we can pull out information from the database as is.
Yeah. And honestly, it doesn't make sense to have a different enrollment date for somebody whose actual enrollment date is in the previous year, or they could be enrolled for a couple of years. We want the original enrollment date. They just wouldn't have an exit date. So what would happen is on October 1st, if you run your report from the previous year, everybody who doesn't have an exit date, they will show up on the October report along with any new enrollments you have.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, thank you. It's easier.
Yep.
Thank you.
Were there any other hands raised? Aaron, you wanted to ask something?
No, it got answered. That's good. Thank you.
Okay.
Oh, actually, you know what? Something did strike me. You know, we are recording information for the ESL classes on that detail portion of the ORR report. I think what Bisera was referring to is, you know, Sabrina submits PET ones that have like more detailed attendance information. Does she still need to do those in addition to the fact that we're submitting like the start and end of their PET time? Or will that be something you'll talk about at the end of January when we review reports?
We will talk about that at the end of January. We are trying to reduce the different types of reports we're getting from ERCO and kind of putting it all into one report, which will have different tabs for different things. So yeah, that will be part of the discussion, and let's try to figure this out together.
Okay, thank you.
Maybe you guys have better ideas than us, and we're open to any suggestions that you might have. Morvarid, your hands up.
Yes, hi everyone. Hi Soil. I have a few questions, if you don't mind.
Sure.
First, thank you. First, I'm sorry in advance if this is repeating the same questions, but just for more clarification. Looking at the ORCAS templates, And I have first questions is that I see there is RSS enrollment services. By RSS, should we consider just the services offered by the refugee support team, or for example, the date of the arrival RMP services that they receive are considered part of RSS?
No, that is their enrollment and ORCAS.
Okay, so it should be just enrollment in ORCAS. And then
Yeah,
should we,
but
thank you.
except if you have multiple programs at
Mhm.
Lutheran, which you do, so you have ORCAS, you have youth mentorship, and I believe you have the Ukrainian and the Afghans. If somebody is enrolled in those two of those programs, it should be the earliest date that they were enrolled.
Oh, okay, so it means that just the services, programs that run by your team.
Yes.
That's
Yep.
Thank you. Thank you. Clarify. And so when talking about exit date, should we pre-populate that portion or we should leave it blank?
Leave it
One,
blank, please.
okay, so we have to populate it once the service is done and we are sure about the exit. So it applies for all the programs, for example, ECM and Ukraine. So I mean that at the time of the reporting, the first reporting of a client, we do not have to mention anything about exit date because for each client might be different.
Yes, it has to be actual information. So actual enrollment date, actual exit date.
So we do not have to pre-populate it. Thank you
No,
so
no.
much.
Okay.
And one more question, still Sohail, sorry, I still have question. So those, how should, when we do not have actual exit date or when we do not have information, should we put 00? I mean that we, especially I'm talking about the date, or should leave it blank?
Leave it blank, please.
Okay, so thank you so much.
Absolutely. Luba?
Thank you. So for mental health reporting, I have a question for service delivery. So for each service, do we have to create it like report for each client, each service on separate lines? So is that like copying all the information regarding this client and then entering the date? But for example, the client attended several groups, also participated in the event, and also received some individual support. So it will be like 5 services during 1 month. Do we enter them all on separate lines? How is that reported in monthly report details?
Yeah, so there is a drop down for your
Right.
services, and if it is different types of services, yes, you will have 2 or 3 lines for the same individual. But if you're providing the same service for multiple months, for example, you're doing, I want to say, wellness groups, and you did one in February, and the person attended, and then you did one in March and April, and so on and so forth, that will just appear as one service.
Okay. So do we copy all the information on each line or, yeah,
Yes, please.
gotcha. All right, thank you.
Absolutely. Morwarid, is your hand up from before? Okay. Let's go to Christine, and then I'll circle back to Morwarid if she has a question.
Thanks, Sohail. My question is, I guess this is related to the Afghan contract, but it will be a question going forward for our Ukrainian contract. For the housing assistance, if we provide assistance, rental assistance for a specific month, if we use funding that's not through this contract, should we be reporting that?
No.
Okay. Then I guess the other question, when you enter, so there's a column AT that has date, assistance issued, and then column A, U has the month assistance issued.
Yep. So the date assistance issued is the date you issued the check. The month assistance issued is the month for which the assistance was issued. I know it's worded poorly, and we'll fix that.
Okay.
But
Okay.
it is. So, for example, you cut a check on the 20th or the 25th of December for January's rent. So the date would be 25th of December, and then the month will be January of 2024.
Okay. Got it.
Yep.
Thanks.
All right. Do we, Morwari, do you still have a question?
Yes. Sorry, I was my mic was mute. I was trying to unmute it. So yes, one more question I have, and it is about again on the old forms. I see that there is a migration date. Is it just applies for the secondary migrant or applies for everyone? I mean, for example, a student that came through RMP, that the date of the arrival should be considered as the date of migration, or
No, it is secondary migrants.
Oh, okay.
So anybody who was resettled in another state who moved here, or anybody who resettled in Oregon and then after receiving services or for whatever reason they migrated out.
Thank you so much, Zohair. I appreciate that.
Absolutely. All right. Who else has questions?
I saw that Luba had her hand up at one point. I don't know if she still has questions.
No, I figured, yeah, I figured out how to lower it finally.
Okay, but we still have 40 more minutes, so whatever questions you have, send them my way. All right, Slava, and then who's next? Sabrina.
Well, I just have a couple of questions, please. So, one question is about formatting. Is it possible to make it a little bit friendlier? Because it's a long, long document, and it's impossible to hide portions of this report. That would be my first question. The other one is some of the services are provided in the RMP program at our agency. So do we report those services as well or not? Because they join the ECM program after 3 months of being RMP.
So regarding the form being too long, I understand that, but it's just the format that came to us from ORR. And if we change it and put it into different tabs, then that means once we get the report, we will have to do the work of compiling it and putting it back together. That's going to be a little bit tougher. We are, like I keep saying this in all of our meetings, and I hope this happens, but we are hoping that by the end of the federal fiscal year, we will have our database ready, and then we will move away from these Excel reports, and we would just give you access to the database to enter the data, and then we can pull the reports ourselves automatically. So we're hoping that that will solve the form being too long. Regarding RNP services, no, you do not need to put the dates that you provide RNP services in, and this is very specific to ECM because, like you said, after 90 days you enroll them in ECM. So if they received any of those services through RNP, you don't need to put a date in for those.
Okay, great. Thanks.
Absolutely. Sabrina?
Good morning, thanks. As Sarah had mentioned earlier, and you've already said we need to meet about the monthly reporting, so I'm happy to hear that, to update that. But I'm also thinking about our weekly reporting. We've been asked to change the format, and so if I could just we could take the whole meeting here talking about that, so I won't do that. But we could kind of get on your radar that we probably need a meeting with you about that also at some point soon, so that we could work out our process for that.
Yeah.
Hearing some other noise, sorry. Could you hear me?
So yes, we do need to meet regarding the reports, and we will set something up and meet hopefully pretty soon.
Okay, yeah, it might be 2 meetings. There's the weekly and the monthly. If we can mush that into one, great. If not, 2 might be helpful. Thanks.
Okay. Yeah.
Thanks.
Anybody else?
One more question. So I know IRCO has to have clients monitor clients for 90 days. Do we have to do the same if they're employed? And
if they are employed?
Yes.
But yes and no. So IRCO's employment contract is federally funded. ECM is funded by state dollars, and it's a grant. So we highly recommend that you do that, because somebody could get a job and then that job is not a good fit, so they might leave it. So it's a good practice to keep them at least on your caseload and follow up with them every month, just to make sure they still have that job. And then after the 90-day period is over, you can exit them from the program. So it is a suggestion from us, but it is not part of your grant agreement, the 90-day retention. I'm not exactly certain of that, though. I can check on that and make sure that if it is part of the grant, I'll let you know.
Yeah, we usually keep them for a while to make sure that they're stable and they're self-sufficient. So just like what IRCO does, but I just wanted to make sure that it's not a requirement, because I didn't see it in a contract.
I will double check. Okay. I'll double check, and if it is a requirement, I'll let you know. But I don't think it is.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Oh, once again, hello everyone. I'm from SOAR. I'm one of the case managers here at SOAR. So nice to meet everyone. Quick question: when is this database going to be available?
So we are working with a developer, and we are hoping that it will be done by the end of the federal fiscal year. But that is, don't quote me on that. It depends on a lot of things, on how quickly the developer can start creating it, and whether we need to make changes, and whether we have enough time to spare to meet with the developer. So we're hoping end of the federal fiscal year, which is September 30th this year. But it might be a little bit later. And if it is sooner than that, then we'll make sure that everybody knows about it.
Yeah, after all, it's 21st century. We're dealing with Excel forms. So
yeah, so we have a database already that we use. But since our contracts have grown, it is not fulfilling all of our needs. So previously, the information was sent to us, and the data entry was done by one of our support staff, and we had all of the information, so we could pull from that database. But now that model is not feasible, because last year we had close to 7,000 arrivals, and a couple of years ago we had 700. So okay, that's quite a jump. All right. If we don't have any other questions, I'm going to give everybody their time back. I don't want to keep you here. If you think of any other questions, just send us an email and we'll try to figure it out. And for Slava and IRCO, so Slava, I'll get back to you regarding the 90-day retention period, and then we'll schedule something with IRCO specifically for your reports. Mike, you have your hand up?
Yeah. I just raised my hand because Luba, it looks like you asked if anyone else here is also providing health or mental health supports. And I don't know also if this is a reports related question or something else, because if it's not reports related, we could stop recording, but still continue the meeting. Just curious.